People go into dispensaries and they look at the menu and they see which one has the highest percentage of THC and they buy that. That is not necessarily means it's the most potent strain. Am I right?
Higher THC does not equate to a more elevated experience.
All right, everybody. Welcome to a live Green Rush Live on a Friday. I'm Doug Miller, your host, and we have the most interesting guest maybe we might have ever had. Let me make a proper introduction and really tell you who this man is. He has survived cancer. He's gone through chemo and radiation back when he was in high school. The man's had a spine fused. He was addicted to opiates. He's not afraid to admit it. The guy's a handyman. He knows how to do everything in construction. And I mean, electrician, plumbing, you name it, the man can do it. I've watched him do things. He knows his cannabis industry. He was in EMS. He's had so many Instagram accounts shut down. It's like hard to even track him down that he just stopped even caring about how many followers he had. And I know that for a fact. He's always has a tie-dyed shirt on. And the man's name is Jon Frank. And I've met him on Instagram a couple years ago. I was following him around just on Instagram. I just found him to be very, very interesting. And here we are today. We've kept in touch through Instagram. First time we ever met face to face, to be honest with you. And it's a pleasure. And yeah, I just want to ask you many, many questions, but thank you for coming on to our show.
Absolutely, brother. You know it. Maybe I'll drop him with a little bit of the heat. It's your boy with the joy. Double DJ, Dirty Dank Jersey, the NJ Gasquatch, the Puerto Rican Sasquatch, staying stony no baloney on nothing phony. I've got that fire you desire to get higher. I'm the man on the gram with the ganja in my hand, and I have a plan.
I love it. I love it. And here's our other host, Josh Kincaid. Everybody knows him. Welcome, Josh. How are you today?
Doing good, Doug.
Good, good, good. And this is Jon Frank. He is our guest today. He's an interesting man. And I just wanted to start off and ask you first, because I don't even know this. What kind of cancer did you have back in high school?
Sure. And I actually still have it. I have stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I basically have a tumor in my lower lymph nodes in my groin in the right side. And yeah, I battled it with 9 months of high dose chemotherapy, adriamycin, Cytoxan, vincristine, and Rituxan. And then I did, I think about 33 radiation treatments. This was all at Fox Chase in Hunterdon Medical Center. So it was a long battle, but we beat its butt back. And unfortunately it is inoperable. So I live a life of monitoring.
Well, that's an amazing story in itself right there. I can tell you that because I unfortunately lost my mother to cancer, and I just know the battle it's a real battle. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a blessing that you're even here and that you have that positive outlook and you just keep on cruising through. But yeah. And then, so is that how you ended up becoming addicted to opiates?
Yeah, no. I was LDS Mormon. I was getting prepared to go on a 2-year mission at the age of 18. I had to kind of choose either go on a mission or accept one of these 25 Division I, Division II scholarships for football. I was all state, for track and field, shot put. I had a lot of good things going for me, and cancer kind of derailed that and exposed me to narcotics. It exposed me to prednisone and all kinds of stuff. And created a large chemical imbalance and a lot of chemical dependencies, which unfortunately set me off on a very self-destructive path.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I saw that you know spent some time and unfortunately did some jail time
Yeah.
rehabs to rehabilitate yourself. And like I said, your story is absolutely amazing, and that's why I wanted to have you on as a guest. For one, you're an awesome dude. You're a very positive guy. Your message is always positive, and I always love watching everything you do, which brings us to what we were going to discuss today, the challenges of marketing and cannabis in the new world, basically. And like I said, I discovered this gentleman on Instagram, and he's been able to just keep on going through and through and through and being found to the point where I was saying, I watched him go to the recent MJ BizCon, and I wasn't out there. I had a couple things to do, but I literally lived it through watching his Instagram because he was just so great out there, just at every booth with every company. He's just amazing. And I know I speak to him, so I know a lot of companies contact you and ask you know to represent their products, and it's just an amazing story. And I'm just going to ask Josh, you know, if you would like to ask any questions, because he has no idea who you are. And I'm just curious to see if Josh has, you know, just throws anything out at you, because your life is crazy. So I know you'll have a crazy, interesting answer for
Absolutely.
anything.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, I guess before we jump into like Instagram or media or anything, I'm curious about your favorite strain now, but also the cultivar that helped you through cancer, either like something that gave you an appetite or whatever it was. What was your go-to during like when you had cancer, and what's your favorite now?
Sure. So, oddly enough, going through cancer, it was way less sophisticated of consumption choice than it is today. Back then in 2002, 2003, the choices were very limited. It was basically all legacy. The only option medically was Marinol. And that affected me very, very heavily. I guess because it was so, potent and had to be metabolized through my liver and through the body. The effects were very long lasting. And it wasn't always to the benefit of giving me an appetite or anything. It was just more to like a sedative or to a very heavy numb, just kind of like, just wanted to sleep a lot. Today, I have discovered that I am more of like the OG, right? Donnie burger, some GMOs, fatso. I like the dirtier, funkier smell. Usually is indicative of the terps that seem to benefit me. When it comes to like the holistic benefit, it was RSO, my discovery of RSO and FICO that truly had probably the biggest benefit towards cancer and combating, the different elements of cancer, essentially remediation of the growth, avoiding metastasis. I didn't want things to metastasize. And unfortunately the tumor that I had, where I had it, about 4 or 5 months before I found out I had the tumor, I had an appendectomy at Muhlenberg Hospital. It wasn't actually appendicitis, it was the tumor. So had I known that, I could have figured it out. But yeah, like products like this, it's a nanotech, it's an RSO, goes underneath the tongue or on the tongue, and it bypasses the liver. So you begin immediate absorption in the bloodstream through the capillaries, through your tongue, your mucous membranes, everywhere, just all over your mouth. And then as it cascades down your throat, it's beginning to course through your blood even faster. This is a proprietary product for slowpoke syrup that my buddies are actually using to help save people. It's 100% free to people who are suffering and dying.
But does it taste like RSO?
Not at all. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It takes about 3 droppers full for me to begin to feel medicated on the RSO. They also offer like a collab with Golden State Banana. It was a Rainbow Belts hash rosin and their nanotech. It's like lemonade. It's very sweet. It's very tasty, and there's no there's no aftertaste, and there's none of that earthy, that very earthy taste that you might get with a tincture or that high ethanol alcohol type delivery. So,
well, I guess at this point we can dive into some media stuff, I suppose, if you don't mind, Doug. I'm curious about Instagram and how or why. What's your opinion on allowing cannabis to be talked about? Because it was at a time when YouTube would cancel you, Facebook, Instagram would shut you down all the time for just posting stuff. So how is it that you're able to thrive now?
Sure. So I actually have one day when I write my book, I will talk about something called hijacking the algorithm, right? Before the algorithm really got heavily modified in the last few years, when Instagram was juicy, when it was really, really good. I used to have 20 to 50,000 views in my stories. It was mind boggling, right? I had, before my account closed, I was about 7.9 thousand followers, all organically secured. I was a private account. After 500 people, I switched to private. So that was me handshaking, meeting people. And I was still able to prove that I was a lucrative, valuable asset as a private account that even couldn't be reshared or anything. It's just, these 8,000 people that followed me spent where I directed them. They went where I told them. They were, just like Doug was saying, people could live vicariously through me because there were times I'd be in 4 events in one day, from Cape May all the way up to, Mawa. And, people can't do that. They didn't have, access or permission to be everywhere, or there was conflict of interest or street politics. And, that never happened to me. So, in the beginning, when the algorithm was juicy, I found a way through innuendo, right? I read the community guidelines, and I learned how to initially, I would put on a musical beat, right? That was royalty free. I made sure, because I'm also in the music industry. I have a rapper that I work with. And so I would find royalty free music, and I would start to freestyle and make like these little catchy, boom bap beats. I'd be like, oh, gold standard, King Midas, and I wouldn't talk about cannabis. I wouldn't talk about consuming. I wouldn't smoke it on the camera, but like I would do a cut, and like you may see me exhale. And there was never anything they could stick to me. So I appealed everything, and I always won. I had 89 violations on Dirty Dank Jersey, right? When my account finally got closed and I had my opportunity to go back and appeal, it was like 89 violations previously, and it was the 90th one that they just deleted the account. And I wasn't mad. One of the things that I was notorious for, there was no commercials for legacy brands and operators. My friends who bought Jokes Up stamps, a lot of my buddies in New York City, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, shout out like Smoke Betta, people like that. These were brands that I wanted to share here in New Jersey. Nobody had that kind of cannabis. Everybody had this just garbage stuff. You had to trust some weird dude in Plainfield who, it was just odd stuff. It wasn't, there was no lineage, there was no genetics, there was no names. It was just a little blue, red, or clear bag. So it was, it was interesting to say the least. I'll let you chime in.
Yeah, no, I was always amazed how you always just like constantly went and pushed the envelope on Instagram. And I would watch like other people. Obviously, I follow people, and yeah, I see people's accounts getting shut down left and right. I have a buddy that like literally his account gets shut down, and within 3 days he'll have 20,000 followers. And I'm just like, how the heck does he do that? Like he just has that kind of following that people love him. And I was just always amazed. I'm like, wow, man, you know, Dirty Danks, he just keeps going and just doing like cool things. And like he said, he goes to all these underground events in New York, and he's up in the North Jersey area. So he visits the New York scene a lot, and that North Jersey scene. He also comes down to my area in the Philadelphia area. So he's all over the place, and he just knows how to show the industry off the right way. And I always enjoy just following and watching what he was up to. And like you said, he would take a lot of legacy brands. They were just guys that knew how, and I speak about this often, the quality of cannabis and growing it. And he finds these guys that are growing it the right way. You can tell these guys are amazing. Like these are the guys that the dispensaries and the big companies, the MSO, should be hiring to oversee their grow operations. And these guys are doing little grows, and they're just knocking it out of the park. I mean, I've seen the stuff this guy has, and with Dirty Dank smoking, and it's always Dirty Dank. And that's
And that's
pretty
the
much where he
problem.
got that name, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the problem with that is, though, and it took me a long time to understand this. The best cannabis is not scalable for profit, right? Growing in living soil, indoor, organic, with the kind of attention that it requires. And it's love. Like, my Flavor Farms, my buddy Paul, Green Dragon Hydro, Medman, all these different people that I've watched cultivate and grow, right? The one element that you can't buy in a store is love, and is that interaction that you're going to have, giving that plant your time, your energy, the carbon dioxide as you exhale, right? That's why, like, there's been scientific studies that show people who have an intimate relationship with their flora actually can have more robust yields and larger, more beautiful vegetation. You're literally sharing your electromagnetic field with this plant. And these are things that are lost to people who I call asleep. When you start to wake up and I understand that the world is vibrations and frequencies, and that, we have a part to play in it, and that we can enhance, we can amplify, or we can take away. And that's, to your point, you always say I'm positive. I've learned today that I need to contribute. I contribute more than I consume, right? And through that singular process, I am able to justify my existence here. Right. And so on my worst day, I know as long as I'm contributing something, that somebody's getting benefit somewhere. And so I can't be upset. I can't be suicidal. I can't be depressed. I can't go backwards. I can't do something to hurt myself. So that's why the plant, is allowing me to change people's lives. We're coming together now that we're using, like you're saying, all these legacy brands and stuff that I've helped advertise over the years. They're finally seeing that the value in what I do, to the point where they're willing to put up some personal, skin in the game. And they're saying, hey, let's take this and go to the next level. Let's get some production. Let's do this marketing thing the right way. Let's, if I'm out here in BizCon, I'm out here at Las Vegas, what's to say you pay this 6'7", 300-pound man to wear a shirt with your company logo on it, right? And but that's the other point. I'm not for hire like that. You have to have a product that is there to either change the community or the world, or benefit. I'm not going to, I'm not so much if it comes from China or anywhere, but it has to actually just benefit the community. I cannot be hired to promote just exploitative extraction mechanisms. That's the worst thing. I did the NFT scam stuff, and I saw what extraction mechanisms are. And then I got the bigger taste of what capitalism today looks like. It's a bunch of people misleading each other. That's why the world's laughing at America. They're like, look at these idiots. They're all running around chopping each other's heads off. If they only knew that they could come together and unify and create the best of the best.
Teamwork always wins, for real. And I agree 100%. It's been, our country's been divided, but we won't get on that subject.
Of course.
Whole nother thing. But, I have another question. What other social media platforms do you actually like for cannabis?
Twitter's great. I just got into it recently. The problem with Twitter was, before Elon Musk got his hands on it, it was just useless. It was just sex, pornography, bots, just nonsense, right? So and that's the thing. A lot of people today have to get into the different apps like Discord. One of my most powerful tools in cannabis marketing and advertising today is my Discord. I am able to have a place where I give people their roles and incentivize them. I can do giveaways, ads. I can sell ad copy, right? I can also create independent micro ecosystems inside of this, so that as I say, hey, my followers should become moderators. My moderators get a paid position eventually when they start generating, income utilizing that. So Discord is imperative. YouTube, right? Trying to get those 1,000 subs and to establish, followership. I've been trying to tell people for a long time. This is why, I watched Burner, he went and got the best of the best of the best and did all this, right? I don't have that kind of money yet, but what I did is I put it out to the ether that I needed help, that I needed the real people to come and gravitate towards me. And I needed them to give me an opportunity to talk to me. And that's when I met like Nick, right? One of my previous jobs. He has amazing accolades. One day I'll let you interview him and talk to him, because his belief in me has essentially has thrust me into a new position in the marketing advertising. He helped me develop contracts. He helped me develop a DEX, where I actually have, I would go around and say something to people and they're like, okay, you're just some dude. You have glass, you have a cool concept, but you're not a business. You're not an LLC. What is this? Oh, well, no. Now I have an agent. Now I have a videographer. He has entertainment law, right? I have attorneys that we consult with. I have people who own businesses who have paid me like business to business, right? DBA for now until my LLC does go through. And we're establishing the ground, the basically the framework for influencers to work with these companies on a different level. And it's not the pauper like, oh, please, sir, will you please give me a shilling for my time? No. Pay up, sucker. You're the big business. I don't profit on people. I learned as an individual, I'm going to profit on businesses. We're going to change the whole script. You change the model to profit on businesses and you leave people alone, right? Businesses have the money to spend.
At the end of the day, they're cutting the checks, and
Correct.
yeah, no, and it is quite impressive that you get this following, and you're just an organic kind of guy. Again, that positive energy just follows you, and it drew me to you. I told you that before, and it's what kept me always following you. Every time a new account pops up, I'm like, oh, there he is, and I
I
just
think we're
click
on
on.
18 or 19 right now.
It.
I went through like Dirty Dank Jersey XX. And that's a funny thing. You go and search my name on Instagram and see all the fakes. There are fake accounts all over. And, I've had people tell me like, that's the ultimate form. Like, that's kind of how you're making it, bro. Like you get people imitating you, stealing your content, rebranding you under different names. Like I always laugh when somebody hits me up from an account using my images. And I'm like, what is the purpose of this? Like, I'm going to either block you or I'm going to find out who the hell you are.
And that's actually very good, flattering when people are following you like that and trying to mimic you. That means you're doing something right, and you caught my attention for sure. And yeah, I'm gonna ask Josh. You have anything else to ask?
Yeah, I guess like guerrilla marketing, kind of like when you were talking about tactics before, because it's kind of difficult in the industry to even get out there. We've been on and off and back on again with billboards out here in Washington State. There's one guy who's got a chain of stores, and you can't really advertise on buses or anything. So he went out and he bought like a car wash, and he called it the same name. It's Uncle Likes, dispensary, Uncle Likes car wash. So he on the side of the bus it says Uncle Likes, and then in really small print, car wash. Yeah, so he's able to get away with it.
Smart.
I mean, it's not really like guerrilla marketing, but I'm trying to figure out like other ways that people that are getting in the Northeast,
Sure.
opening up, how they can monetize or get their name out there.
Absolutely. So perfect example, right? Like my dab bar. The problem that you just expressed, one of the number one things here in Jersey is how do we mitigate the risk and the legal responsibility to corporate events who want to have cannabis and offer this like an open bar to their constituents, to their patrons, right? You hire Dirty Dank and the Dirty Dank Dab Bar, which comes into your event under OSHA. There's no flames, open flames allowed indoors. So as long as we can get the blessing of a private facility to say that we can consume indoors, I bring in your electronic rigs, your electronic devices, all of this, right? I get hash sponsors, or I'll give them a package. Okay, you have 500 people coming tonight, right? You're going to give me $3,500, right? I'm going to provide an ounce across 5 different flavors, from fresh press to THCA mechanically separated solventless diamonds. We're going to talk about the terps. We're going to talk about the mediums. We're going to talk about the benefits. There's no BHO. There's no pentane. There's no hydrocarbon extracts, essentially, right? We're going to have the headiest glass. So all of this becomes an educational experience versus a recreational, shit show. And now what happens is they can cut a check because they're having somebody come and teach. The cannabis is not a part of that. That is a gift from me. Or I'm not exactly sure of every attorney I've talked to this way. He says, as long as you do this way, everybody's 21 and older. There's even a contract. There's releases that we have signed. I'm actually in development with some people creating the SOP, or the standard operating procedure, for dab tenders, how to create a successful dab service, which we can eventually move into a license, right? Where you'll be certified in first aid. You'll have healthcare provider level CPR, because I've seen people green out. So if you're a dab tender and you're alone at these things doing this, you have to be able to identify when somebody's having some sort of syncope or some sort of, racing heart, or, and that's the only kind of thing I could see a municipality or a state worrying about is providing a regulated product, without regulation, but to the point that on private property in a private building for private events, it becomes sharing. It's not gifting even. At the point where I am just sharing the education about consumption and using my glass with my products, it is not sales. There's no sale going on. So that's what I've been able to offer, and it's been game changing for me. And at that same time, that's where these other brands, brands that I work with, I say, hey, I'll do a whisper campaign, or I'll do you pay me X, right? And when I'm doing these things, when I'm out there going to all these events, I will drop by. Oh, hey, guess what, man? I've got this grinder, right? I've got this amazing grind. It makes life so easy. And I cannot tell you how easy it is to start like these guerrilla campaigns. I call it lifestyle inception. And this is where the people with the big brain are finally seeing like, holy crap. If I pay Dirty Dank Jersey across 6 months to take my product and market it into these, 3,000 different people, all of a sudden I at least have 1,000 new customers. So, stores, businesses that specifically have utilized me and marketed with me have seen big increases in sales. Their revenue's gone up. And to the point where I've actually had some businesses I've had to, walk away from because their ego gets out of control. And they just, they feel like, oh, well, we're doing so great now, we made you. And I'm like, oh, all right, I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'm going this way. You go that way. We'll see how long you're doing great that way. It's a mutual thing, and that's all. I always try to just tell people like, hey, let's mutually benefit each other, right? It's not always about money, as long as the path and the doors are opening up for me to continue to establish myself in this industry and create my own lanes and opportunities. And I think that's a cool thing about cannabis too. It's a lot of mom and pop style thinking about, hey, one hand washes the other, and if we can keep that kind of community thing where it's about support rather than always exploitation and profiting, that's the hard thing. It's just, you have a lot of people who came from the outside when they saw that cannabis was about to become the new gold mine. This is the new .com bubble. This is, some people miss NFTs, some people miss crypto, but you have a lot of people that are trying to get into cannabis somehow. And so people who really weren't a part of the community, they were in CBD, they were in art, they were in this, they did all this other stuff, right? They tried to come in and they tried to take over. And that's what's happening. There's kind of like a jockeying for position, like who's authentic, who's genuine, who's real, who's a profiteer, who's an exploitation artist. And that's why, going to these events, unless you go to these events and you hear and you meet and see the living, breathing dynamic, you're never going to know. And you're just going to fall victim to the profiteers and the predators hiding in, sheep's clothing.
No, you definitely have to show up at the events and be in the industry. But I'll tell you what, John, Dirty Dank, interesting. Always, I love talking to you, even if it's just a text message. I greatly appreciate you coming on, joining us. And yeah, we're definitely going to have to have you on again, because I know you could just talk for hours and enlighten us, and we'll talk about any other subjects. But I really appreciate your time. And Josh, anything to end with?
No, I guess if he's offering some services, maybe like figuring out IG recovery from anybody else who's getting their stuff set, shut down.
Yep.
Discord password recovery.
Yep. I work with somebody, so I also have bong fairies right now. They are these different, they were porn stars and stuff I met at this expo, and I'm trying to show them, hey, put some clothes on, or, let's find other ways that you can profit. Come to cannabis. Let me show you what you can do. One of them actually met somebody, I don't want to give it all the way, but they had to get their account back. They had many hundreds of thousands of followers. These girls depend on these IG accounts for their lifeblood. And she met somebody at Meta and now has a direct link to get accounts recovered on Instagram and Facebook. It is mind blowing. People were paying $10,000, $15,000 for this service, and it's a phone call for this beautiful woman. I'm like, what? So yeah, maybe we could definitely help people with that in the future. That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. And we will be in touch for sure. And go ahead, plug your website and dab us out of here.
Absolutely. It's www.dirtydankjersey.com. You can get me on Instagram at certified DDJ. That's CertifiedDDJ. Twitter, it's NJ Gasquatch. And yeah, we're going to rip this RJ Glass Pedro in Cotton Candy Tech. Got our Evan Shore Banger Dobby Glass card cap and some amazing cheese hash, solventless fresh press, right out of the great state of Maine.
Yeah, I learned so much about hash and a lot of stuff from you, just because you're always introducing new strains and different things. And yeah, I love it. I love it. Just keep up that passion, that positive outlook on things, and I will always be following along.
Absolutely, fam. Much love. I appreciate it. Stay stony, no baloney on nothing phony.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.
Much love.
And we will be back with the Green Rush Live on a Friday evening.
People go into dispensary and they look at the menu and they see which one has the highest percentage of THC and they buy that. That is not necessarily means it's the most potent strain. Am I right?
Higher THC does not equate to a more elevated experience.